Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and I have an episode today that I think will hit pretty close to home for you if you're an emotional eater, if you struggle with food and weight, and if after this show you're like, how does she know? Because I just have a feeling you'll relate to the topic. The reason why I know you is because I am you. I'm an emotional eater. I'm somebody who has struggled with food and weight. And while I'm so in a better place today than I ever have been, I have the personality traits. I have the personality profile of an emotional eater. If you've read my book or listened to my TEDx talk, you know about the anatomy of the emotional eater. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, is just another subtlety of our personality that can get in the way of our happiness, of satisfying relationships, effective relationships, and of course, of our relationship with food. So before I go there, I just want to say, if you're here for at the show for the first time, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show. Welcome home for sure. This is where we go deeper. We have a deeper conversation about what makes us tick, right? Just like today's topic. Do you let people love you? And if you want to join us on Facebook, you can find us at The Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating Now. Jump in there as a first point of contact to connect with other emotional eaters. We're happy to have you there. And if you don't know if you're an emotional eater, go to my website, healyourhunger.com. That's heal, H-E-A-L, and take the quiz. It's a free quiz. It's super quick and easy, but you'll find out if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between. Okay, it's cool. You get a personalized score, you answer some questions, and then you're on your way. You find out where you are on the emotional eating spectrum. You may be a food addict if you're like me. That's where I was. I was so high on the spectrum, I was a food addict. Now, that's a name, it's a word, it's a couple words, obviously, but it's a label. I don't put too much stock in labels, but it certainly is symbolic for the experience we have with food. I was an outright binge eater. Ugh, it was awful. It was so awful. My binges were horrific, and they got progressively worse. I didn't start out that way. I started out in 4th grade just learning how to eat a pint of ice cream. My sister took me down to Friendly's ice cream, and she showed me that you could, get your own pint. This is what we did. And get your own spoon, take the lid off, and never put it back on. So at what age was I? Like 10 or 11, I learned to binge. Thank you, sis, because she was an emotional eater as well. And so from there, I did become an even worse binge eater, to the point where I was eating popcorn and chips and cake and ice cream and, bars and cereal and anything carby and fatty and sugary. Now, if you're not a binge eater, it doesn't disqualify you from being an emotional eater. You can still be an emotional eater. You might be an emotional snacker or a late night eater or just a volume eater, not to the point of a full out binge, but maybe you just stuff yourself at meals. There's all different ways to qualify as an emotional eater. Aren't you glad? Anyway, I'm joking. But yeah, so take the quiz and find out where you stand on that emotional eating spectrum. Okay, on with the show. I want to talk today about the emotional eater's tendency to push love away, to reject love, to put up walls to being loved. Do you relate to that? So I just had an experience literally today. Everything I do on this show is inspired by something personal, typically, unless I'm interviewing a guest. But the thing is, I was on the phone with a company that I was buying something from. It was a clothing company. I found this really cute stretchy dress, Title IX, if you've never seen their catalogs. It's just cute and sporty and comfy. That's the name of the game for me in my 50s. So anyway, I wanted to buy this dress. I bought a size. It didn't fit. I wanted to change it out. And then I wanted to buy 2 more dresses for some friends because it was such a cute dress and it was on sale. Okay, TMI, possibly. So I bought this dress. I got on the phone because I wanted to know how to return the one that was too big and get the other ones in its place. And the woman on the phone with me was so sweet. She was awesome. I just loved her. She was friendly, personable. She helped me out. She gave me a 10% discount because I was buying 3 of the same dress. And at the end of the call, I just said, thank you so much for being so helpful and making this so easy, because it ain't always that way, right? And she, warmed right. She was already warm, but she got even warmer. And before we got off the call, she called me Honey Bunny. She's like, you got it, Honey Bunny. And she wasn't like Southern or anything. Like that would be more of a Southern type of personality, but she was just outright loving. She's like, you got it, Honey Bunny. And then I got off the phone and I kind of pressed the off button or whatever it was on my phone faster than I meant to, as her went click when she was just at the end of calling me Honey Bunny and being so sweet. And I observed that and I thought, you were a little uncomfortable there, Trish. Like, you didn't mind being warm to her, which I try to be, especially people in service, customer service. It ain't an easy job. So I was super sweet to her, but I didn't expect that she would be so sweet to me. I just, it was going to be going out, but I hadn't prepared for letting it come in. And so I observed that I was a little uncomfortable with her sweetness. I was like, ooh, I don't know what to do with this. This is kind of uncomfortable. And it happened in a split second. I pressed click and I didn't cut her off, but I didn't sit with that beautiful warmth that we were exchanging for very long. I got right off that call. And I just observed that I was a little uncomfortable with her being so sweet to me. And it just reminded me of something my mentor used to say. He used to say, if you let me love you, if you let me into your heart, and he said that to everybody, didn't matter, male, female, black, white, orange. He would just say, if you let me into your heart. You could be a 6'8" man, 475-pound man, and he would say that same thing. Let me into your heart. Let me love you. And that's how he helped people heal. He helped people heal by inviting them to let him love them. And his love was very healing. I was so fortunate to receive the love that he was giving to people that he worked with. I was a recipient of that. It doesn't mean it was easy, and he knew that, which is why he phrased it, let me love you, let me into your heart. Because for emotional eaters, that is not easy. You see, we're not emotional eaters because we like food. We're emotional eaters usually because we have a long-standing habit with eating too much, with using food as a coping mechanism, stuffing ourselves with food to protect ourselves from pain, from fear, from just the world that hasn't been so nice to us. And it usually starts at a very young age, oftentimes with abuse. Okay, let's call a spade a spade. As emotional eaters, we typically have abuse in our past, whether physical, mental, emotional, or sexual. And I was no exception. I had sexual abuse in my past, and so many of my clients have. And of course, this contributed to our becoming emotional eaters. Of course it did. Food is, one of the few things we have to lean on when we're in pain as a small child. Is we aren't able to go score drugs or start a porn addiction or whatever. Although now with kids on computers, probably a lot younger, they can do that. But the point is, we have very few things that we can turn to when we're in a dysfunctional home, when we're in a situation that's tough, that's a secret that we're not talking about. We've got to do something to ease the pain that we're in. And we're not always conscious of this pain, but we're in pain. We're in pain and we're looking for relief. And food is right there. And that's where the terrible addictive habit begins and snowballs into our worst nightmare. So the fact is, as young children, when we're abused, we start putting up walls. We put up walls around our heart because it feels like it's protecting us. It feels like it's keeping the bad people out, the bad advances from others out, the hurts, the offenses, the abuse, the rejection, all of it feels like, first of all, feels like we need protection, right? And then we use food for protection. Then we use fat for protection. And we're just on guard. We spend our lives on guard, not letting people into our hearts. Because once upon a time, we were soft and vulnerable and open, and we got hurt. Do you relate to that? Yeah. I mean, it's just what happens. It's what happens. It's how we begin to use food. Now, you might have had a charmed childhood, and this may not be your story. You can still be an emotional eater. You can still have an addictive habit with food. I'm just saying, a lot of people start this way by shutting down, by closing off their heart, feeling like it's going to be protection. It does protect us for a time, but of course it backfires because then it hems us in, it traps us. And then, we're dying from the cure of overeating to protect us from pain and unwanted advances and harmful people. That cure ends up being a curse and one that almost kills us. Because guess what? Emotional eating, addictive eating kills on a daily basis. And if we don't make changes, and I don't mean in your diet, you've tried that, it doesn't work. If we don't make changes in how we're living, we're likely to die from the cure. So, do you let people love you? Chances are you don't. Chances are you put up walls. Chances are you do what I used to do, which is pick a fight, with a partner, be nitpicky, right? Super judgy, put up walls, isolate ourselves, stay at home and binge when we could be out socializing, shutting down sexually, not being willing to have sex or having sex by holding our breath and hoping it ends soon. I've done all this, friends, okay? If you're like, how does she know? I've done it, right? When we have these walls up, when we're afraid to let love in, this is what we do. This is what we do. And it ends up being extremely isolating, extremely lonely, not only for us, but for those who love us. It's not easy for those who love us, friends. We may be charming on the outside, but for those who live with us, it can be a whole nother experience. Because when we're afraid of love, we're afraid to open our hearts to love, we can be lonely to be around, especially when we are obsessed with food. Friends, if food is your lover, if food is what you lean on for protection and love and companionship and entertainment, whoever you're living with who loves you and wants connection with you is feeling very alone. Okay? It's not just us we hurt when we overeat. I'm just saying, okay? It may not be easy to hear this, but hey, I've been there, I've done it. I know you're doing it to some degree. Now, you might have come a long ways with this, and I hope so, but I'm just calling out how we operate and how injurious it is to us and to those around us, and why letting ourselves be loved is so important. Now, I will say, as emotional eaters, we also have the personality trait of trusting the wrong people. So you might have closed down, shut down your heart because you were afraid of trusting and getting hurt. The problem is when we have our guard up, when we're like, don't F with me, right? Don't mess with me. I'm not going to let myself be hurt anymore. It's crazy, but the energy of don't mess with me, or I'm not going to let myself be hurt, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So when we have our dukes up and we're like, don't hurt me, we're putting out their energy around being hurt. Our subconscious doesn't understand a negative. So when we say don't hurt me, all our subconscious hears is hurt me. Because your energy is all around being hurt. And you will attract more people to hurt you. Roy used to say, when you're in victim mode, like the hurts, when you're rehearsing the ways you've been victimized, you have a victim. It's as if you have a victim stamp across your forehead. And people will see you and say, oh, there's a victim. Let me victimize her. All right. It's like we're drawing it to us. We're drawing the same experiences to us when we're not healed. When we've got our dukes up and we're trying to protect ourselves, it's like we put ourselves in harm's way even more because our energy is all around hurt and being hurt and trying not to be hurt, and it's all about hurt. That's why healing at a deeper level, that's why healing those hurts, clearing the energy of self-protection and being on guard and not letting anybody mess with us, that energy, it's negative. It's negative and it draws negative experiences to us, which is the very opposite of what we intend. So back to the question, do you let people love you? Chances are you don't, because you have proof it doesn't pay off. At Heal Your Hunger, we're all about healing those hurts, clearing that negative energy so we can allow ourselves to be loved. And boy, do the spouses of my clients love Heal Your Hunger. They just love it because these women begin to open their hearts again. These women let themselves be loved. And of course, when you let yourself be loved, you learn to love too. It goes both ways. When your heart opens, energy flows both ways. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. So much of our not letting ourselves be loved has to do with our shame. Our body shame, our shame around our food habits, and of course, shame around early childhood sexual experiences. I had so much body shame. I hated my body. I didn't want my body to be touched. I didn't want to engage sexually. I would hold my breath. I couldn't enjoy myself sexually. I just couldn't relax enough to enjoy myself with people who are well-intentioned, a partner who wanted to love me. I didn't make it easy because I had these walls and I had these fears. So, the beautiful thing is when we clear up, the things that hold us back, the things that cause self-protection, including the food, it's easier to love us. And it's easier to allow ourselves to be loved and to love. But I will say, binging and having a really tortured relationship with food, it's hard to be loved when we're hating on ourselves. When we're pouring crap into our bodies, we feel sick, we feel bad, we lack energy, we're mad at ourselves, we're beating ourselves up with self-recriminating thoughts. Hey, you're not going to feel like being loved, and you're certainly not going to be loving. We get bitchy and crabby and snappy and snippy when we're hating ourselves for our choices. So the sooner you address and heal your relationship with food, the sooner you can feel good and have that reflected in all of your relationships, and have God's light and love working through you. So there's a lot to this, but I'm just here to say that if you have trouble with intimacy, if intimacy is hard for you, intimacy, by the way, I've heard it said, the intimacy is into me, I see. So if you have a hard time with letting people see you, letting people see the real you, and if you have a hard time being the real you, then this is the deeper journey we're talking about with Heal Your Hunger. The deeper journey is healing our relationship with food from the inside out, starting to take care of ourselves, starting to act like we matter, starting to love ourselves, and having that wall around our heart melt. And love is what heals our hearts, friends. The love of our community, the Heal Your Hunger community, the women, the sisters who love on each other, the coaches, that's what we do. Love heals. And I believe God is love. So just saying you deserve to be loved, but you do have to face that wall that's around your heart, that wall of hurt, that wall of shame, that wall of it's not safe to be loved. There's a way to heal that. You don't have to keep operating with that belief system. There's a way to heal that. You're safe. You're not a child anymore. You're an adult. You're safe. And if you're not safe, you deserve to be in a position to feel safe. You deserve that gift. And you deserve to do whatever it takes to feel safe. So that's my message for today. As emotional eaters, it's part of the journey. I hope this is helpful. I love you so much. You deserve freedom. You deserve freedom. Please reach out if you want to explore what that looks like. and how you can finally have the safety, the love, the healing of your heart that you deserve. If you're ready to get off the dieting roller coaster ride and finally make peace with food and with your body, talk to a Heal Your Hunger mentor about what steps you need to take based on your own history with food and weight. Go to healyourhunger.com and register for an emotional eating breakthrough session and see how fast you can experience real change. It's a complimentary evaluation, but there are limited spots available. So go to healyourhunger.com and register to speak with a mentor today.